Welcome into Four Down Territory. I am Kyle Madson, the managing editor of NinersWire.com, part of the USA Today sports media group. Joining me, as he always does on Four Down Territory, Doug Farrar, the managing editor of Touchdown Wire. Doug, how we doing, man?
Good. You were singing some Master of Puppets right before we went on.
Yeah, I sure was. You said you were going to crank some Metallica. I was like, all right, man, we can do that.
It happened.
I can play that game.
That's always possible. At any point in my life, any day, it could happen.
Yeah, we might do that for third down. Just play some Metallica and just let it rip, and then move on. No, let's be
a good intro for worst of the week.
Oh, true. Let's workshop that and produce that in post. All right, let's get to first down here. So we have 3 weeks left in the NFL's regular season for this year. Which team are you all in on now that at the halfway point you did not expect to be all in on?
I'll go with the Cleveland Browns, Kyle, because Kevin Stefanski is my coach of the year and Jim Schwartz is my assistant coach of the year.
Yeah.
This team is now 9-5. They're on their fourth quarterback of the season in Joe Flacco. A full 26% of their 2023 salary cap is now an injured reserve. That is the highest rate in the NFL. And it's not just Deshaun Watson. It's Nick Chubb, who's their best offensive player. It's hit after hit on their offensive and defensive lines. I think they have one or two starters on Sunday when Joel Bitonio went out, and in the secondary, and they just don't let it affect them. Moreover, they're pulling wins out of their butts on the regular at a alarming rate. Per Next Gen Stats, the Browns' win probability was as low as 10.7% when they trailed 17-7 with 55 seconds remaining in the third quarter in their 20-17 victory over the Chicago Bears on Sunday. The Browns have a league-high 4 wins in games where their win probability has dropped below 15% this season. Flacco actually threw 3 interceptions in that Bears game, but he recovered to make some insane throws, especially in the fourth. I think he had 214 yards in the fourth quarter passing, which is just nuts. This is a team with all the resiliency in the world, and though there are many teams with more talent, I just don't think you want any part of these Browns right now. And Schwartz's defense, it doesn't matter who's in there. These guys are nasty. So, are they going to win the Super Bowl? No. Do I want to deal with them in the playoffs? Absolutely not.
Yeah, they're the kind of team that maybe loses in the wild card round, but they're going to make that divisional round game a lot harder for the team they play in the wild card round, just because they kind of just kick their ass for 60 minutes.
I remember that Flacco postseason on the way to that Super Bowl. Well, you probably don't want to remember it because it was against the Niners, but
that's fine.
11 touchdowns, no interceptions in that postseason.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
Of course, that was back in like the Paleolithic era, but still.
Yeah, it was so long ago. Yeah. It's the Buffalo Bills for me, because remember, at the halfway point, the Bills lost 3 out of 4 games between weeks 7 and 10, and they looked incapable of putting together like a full game. If it wasn't their offense, it was their defense. If it wasn't their defense, it was their special teams. Just something was always going wrong for them. And it was at the point at the halfway mark, I was like, I just don't believe in the Bills. They're out. I'm out on Buffalo. Now they might just be a buzzsaw. So they blow out the Cowboys in week 15, 31-10. And they're sitting right on the edge of the playoff picture. They're not quite there yet, but they're a couple of wins away. And the reason that the week 15 win was such a big deal for me was just how thoroughly they dominated physically. They didn't just rely on Josh Allen to go run around and do stuff. They hit from the jump on defense. They set that physical tone, and then they leaned more on James Cook than they ever have, and he rewarded them with 220 scrimmage yards and a couple of touchdowns. Josh Allen only put it in the air 15 times. They played really good defense, and it's like, man, this is a team that looks really capable of winning in January and maybe February. So with consecutive wins over the Chiefs and Cowboys, the Bills, to me, look like a legitimate contender again. And given their talent, it would not be insane if not only they make the postseason, but they go on a run. Health under center is so vital for any team, but especially in the AFC right now, when you look at the Bengals and you look at the Browns and you look at the Steelers to a lesser extent, but the right, the injury problems under center have just been massive across the league. So they're healthy at quarterback. They don't need Josh Allen to go make a ton of plays for them game in and game out, but he's definitely capable of it. And if they're going to be a more well-rounded team like they've been the last couple of weeks, I really would not want to face Buffalo in the playoffs.
Yeah, over the last 3 years, it's always been, well, if Josh Allen can be Superman, we'll get somewhere, and if he can't, then we just fall apart.
Right.
And I thought this was an interesting referendum on the Cowboys because they have been without Jonathan Hankins, their defensive tackle, for the last couple of weeks. And they've been scoring so many points that they haven't faced a lot of runs, but they're a light front without Hankins. And Mozzie Smith, the rookie, they got him in there to sort of shore things up. That hasn't, it's worked to a point. But if you can hang with the Cowboys score wise and you start running on them in their nickel packages and their dime packages and their, play a ton of cover one, that could be a thing in the postseason. So yes, I agree on the Bills, and the Cowboys showed some vulnerabilities on defense, and Dan Quinn's a genius. I mean, he'll figure it out. But
Sure.
Yeah, that was an interesting statement for both teams in different directions.
Let's flip the script now. Which team were you in on at the halfway point that now you're punting? You're just like, I can't take them seriously.
Get the Jacksonville Jaguars out of my face. This is no longer a serious team. I'm just like, I'm done.
For real.
I'm done. In their 23-7 loss to the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday night, and outside of the guys in your town, San Francisco, the Ravens might be the NFL's best team. But still, on Sunday night, per OptaStats, the Jaguars are the only NFL team in the last 30 years to have multiple drives end on missed field goals, multiple drives end on fumbles, and multiple drives end in the red zone or on downs at the end of the half, all in the same game.
Wow.
That's all. That's,
that's hard to do.
Well, the play that perfectly encapsulated the Jags' unserious nature came at the end of the first half against the Ravens. There was 11 seconds left in the first half. Jaguars had the ball at the Baltimore 5-yard line, and Trevor Lawrence threw a pass at the left sideline, short of the end zone, which receiver Parker Washington caught. Ravens safety Marcus Williams made an amazing play to keep Washington in bounds, and Trevor Lawrence couldn't get back to the line of scrimmage. After the game, head coach Doug Peterson said, "We're going to stay aggressive. We've scored before in those situations. It was just a mistake, I think, by Trevor, obviously knowing the situation and knowing how much time is left right there." I really, at this point, don't think that anyone on that team knows the situation and how much time is left. Yep. I'm sorry, but the playoffs are right around the corner. There's a lot to analyze. I don't have time for the Jaguars monkey shines anymore. Just,
You're fed up.
They were 8-3 before they blew 3 straight games. Both their offense and defense have fallen apart, and it's just not a serious team anymore. Come on. Either
Jacksonville.
One of my favorite bands is the MC5. Kick out the jams or get off the stage. That's all I have to say.
Get the Jacksonville Jaguars out of my face is one of the funniest sentences anyone's ever said. I really enjoyed that. No, it's the right answer. So when the 49ers faced the Jags in week 10, it was billed as this like clash of two of the top teams. And the Jags off the bye and the Niners are off the bye, and watch out. The Niners go in 34-3, and the Jags just have never really regained control of their season. They're just not that good of a team. And you mentioned that game Sunday, like that's a spot where if you're a good team, you may not go beat the Ravens, because I'm with you. The Ravens are awesome, but like be competitive. Mm-hmm. They just did. They played poorly in a game that you'd expect to get an A+ type of game, and the Jags just didn't give it. I'm with you there. I'll put Seattle here.
Yeah,
because before the year they were kind of the trendy pick to win the NFC West, get them for plus money. At the halfway point, week 9, they were 5-3, and they looked like they could be a real threat to the Niners in the NFC West and a possibly dangerous NFC team. But after that 5-3 start, they're now 6-7.
The Niners twice, and we figured out what the real story was. Good God.
Right. They're now 6-7. They're out of the playoff picture. They're third in the NFC West now. And this is supposed to be a really good team. They have a ton of offensive weapons. They had a budding star in Reek Woolen at corner. They had a good offensive line. Then they added Devon Witherspoon. They had Jackson Smith and Jigma in the draft, and they were this really sexy preseason pick, right? Now they're on the outside looking in at a playoff spot. They can't stay healthy. It's unclear if they have any answers outside of Pete Carroll just chewing his gum a little harder and saying compete a little louder. I'm out on the Seahawks entirely after the last couple of weeks.
It was easy because they had the great draft last year. They had a good draft this year, and Witherspoon and Smith and Jigma are both playing very well. They have fallen from 18th in defensive DVOA through the first half of the season to 31st since. Not good. And why Jamal Adams is on the field as much as he is. I mean, I know Brock Purdy enjoyed it on that touchdown to Deebo Samuel.
Boy, yeah, he did. Yikes, am I right?
Purdy said, once I saw 33 flat-footed, I knew Deebo on the crosser, boom, game, and it was. Yeah, I think they're a year or two away. they had 5 really bad drafts and some questionable trades, including 2 firsts and a $72 million contract for Adams. Ouch. And this game tonight against the Eagles, which I'll be at in the press box.
Nice.
This is their season. This is it. I mean, they got to get something done, and they got to get done now.
No doubt. Let's move to third down, where we're not just going to play Metallica. Who's your most underrated player in the NFL right now?
Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Baltimore Ravens defensive lineman Justin Madubuike is my master of puppets. He is the third player in NFL history, at least since 1982, when sacks became an official NFL stat, to record at least half a sack in 11 straight games in a season. Think about that.
Man.
3 players, Chris Jones, Trey Hendrickson, and this guy, at least half a sack. And I count half sacks as full sacks because you sack the quarterback. I don't care.
Yeah. You got there.
Yep. So 11 straight games in the sack. Chris Jones and Trey Hendrickson are the other 2. Against the Jaguars, he had a sack and 6 total pressures. I loved his tape watching it this morning. A sack and 6 total pressures from 5 different gaps. Those are the guys I love. Give me 4 Michael Bennett's. I will rule the world.
That's insane.
This season, only Aaron Donald, 74, and Dexter Lawrence, 59, have more total pressures among players listed as interior defensive linemen than Madubuike's 57, and no such player has more sacks than Madubuike's 13. The 2020 third-round pick out of Texas A&M will be a free agent in the new league year unless the Ravens either re-sign or tag him, which they had better do. If they don't, you can bet that he'll be a priority for several teams in the league with a top-shelf new contract. There's no, we're starting to get, cool with the Ravens defense and how good they are. This guy, he's as good as anybody in the league at what he does.
The Ravens and Niners play next week. I do stuff for Niners Wire, so I just started looking ahead to the Ravens.
I am so excited. I'm so excited.
Madubuike is jumped out.
Yep.
He is a heck of a player. So maybe I just run in the wrong circles, but I don't think Antoine Winfield Jr. for the Bucs is nearly famous enough.
I agree.
He is, dude. So he's been awesome for a okay Bucs team that may or may not win the NFC South. But Pro Football Focus has Winfield graded out as the 6th best defender in football overall. His coverage grade is
safety, but defender.
Right, defender. Is like the lone defensive back up there with a bunch of defensive linemen. His coverage grade is also the 6th highest among all defensive backs. He's up to 15 pressures and 3 sacks while also earning PFF's best pass rush grade among defensive backs. Winfield is yet to allow a touchdown in coverage this year. He also has 2 interceptions and 7 pass breakups, and quarterbacks when targeting him in coverage have a 51.2 quarterback rating. That is really, really bad for the quarterback. I mean, Antoine Winfield can play high. He can play down in the box. He can play man coverage. He can cover your running back. He can cover your tight end. He can stick him out wide and have him go one-on-one with Justin Jefferson if you want. He is capable of all that on top of being an elite pass rusher and a really, really good run stopper. Just when you talk modern safety, I think Antoine Winfield is the guy. And I'm not sure he gets talked about enough. So
he does.
Shout out to Antoine Winfield.
He doesn't. I got to watch tape with him before he was drafted, and I was shocked when he went like 45th, second round. Really?
Insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was one of those he's too small things, which, okay, whatever. Just watch.
Someday we're going to get past that.
Just watch him kick your ass for the next 10 years because you didn't draft him. Okay, fine. He's a great player. Always has been. And he's like you said, he's one of those players that can transition to whatever kind of defense. If you need a guy to play in deep third, fine. Too high, cool. Box, yep. Blitz, sure. Cover the flare, yeah. You can do everything.
Yep. Really, really good. All right. Let's end this on a low note as we do every single week.
Yes.
Fourth down, Doug. What's your worst of the week?
I never openly and publicly question the effort of a player. It's just not something you do because you don't know if a guy is messed up in a scheme or if he's hurt or something else is going on in his personal life. But Pittsburgh Steelers receiver George Pickens' tape against the Indianapolis Colts in a 30-13 loss was truly disconcerting. Pickens he's blown multiple run blocking assignments this season, and his reaction to Mitch Trubisky's second interception against the Colts, in which Trubisky airmailed Pickens, was really bizarre. And I get it. I mean, Pickens made no attempt to tackle safety Julian Blackmon. Instead, he just jogged to the sideline as the play was still happening. I'm winding it back over like, did he really just? Oh my God, he did.
It's insane.
Per Pro Football Focus, Pickens caught 68% of his contested targets last season. This year, that number has dropped to 29%. Yes, the offense is a dumpster fire with or without Matt Canada. And yes, the Steelers have not always utilized his talents the way they should be utilized. But I don't want to say that he's given up, but the frustration is palatable. It's happening. You know, he's made it clear and obvious on the field. Mike Tomlin has talked about it. So I don't think this is all on him. But you don't usually see this from a Mike Tomlin team. Even when he had Antonio Brown acting like a Fruit Loop, Tomlin was able to keep the cake dish over it. And this time it's just sort of, you know, pumping out everywhere. It's not like I'm not saying George Pickens is not efforting, but I don't know what other conclusion to draw after some pretty extensive tape study this weekend.
Yeah, I don't, like you said, you never know what's going on with the player, but it's regardless of the reason, it just really looks like George Pickens isn't right.
The result is what it is.
Correct. Yeah. Regardless of why. So hopefully he's all right. Hopefully it is just an effort thing, because that's something that's I think easy to fix. All right. The Atlanta Falcons, bro, they lost to the Panthers, which in itself, like, that could be the end of it.
Was that a game or a scrimmage? Because there was nobody there.
It looked like the Bahama Bowl.
Yes.
Where there's like 42 people there to watch BYU and Coastal Carolina. Like that's what it looked like.
Actually, I'm watching the famous Toastery Bowl right now with Western Kentucky and Old Dominion, and it looks like that.
If I had known that was on right now, I wouldn't have said we could record right now. I would be watching instead. Oh sure. My God.
You and like
So it's in the rain. It's in front of 16 dedicated Panther faithful.
Yes.
And Arthur Smith let his team get punked by a 1-win team in the midst of a division race where Atlanta like needed to win, and they get a layup on their schedule. And instead of being tied with New Orleans and Tampa Bay heading into week 16, they're now a game back. They are now climbing uphill in one of the worst divisions in football. I don't understand how a coach lets this happen. Bad games are going to happen. Okay. Like games where trap games and, we can beat this team by throwing our helmets on the field. Those games happen all, like, I get it. But in this particular spot, you give a C- game and they're beating Carolina by 2 scores. Mm-hmm. Atlanta's now 6-8 on a roster with a healthy Kyle Pitts, a healthy Drake London, and a healthy Bijan Robinson. And Bijan Robinson isn't even getting like a lion's share of the work, despite the fact that they drafted him 8th overall.
That's just malpractice.
It's outrageous. So like, ew. I don't love being like, hey, that guy needs to go. But I don't know if you're the Falcons right now, if you're Arthur Blank and you're looking at what's going on with this team and you're specifically looking at what happened in week 15. I don't know how you roll with Arthur Smith moving forward, because that was just, it was that bad for me. And a culmination of a kind of weird season for Atlanta. So Atlanta gets my worst of the week for losing to the now 2-12 Carolina Panthers.
Yeah. I think you will see a new head coach and a new quarterback in Atlanta next year.
I do too. Desmond Ritter's not it. Desmond Ritter's fine. He's just not the guy.
Good backup, but
yeah.
Know your role.
That's it. 4 downs. We're done. That's all we get. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will be back next week with more Red Hot NFL reactions to Week 16. Oh my God, it's so late.
And you just got photobombed by some woman walking through the door behind you.
Shout out to doing these live on the radio station.
It's the best way to do these videos. I love that.
Thanks, I'm not even going to re-rock it. See you, everybody.
No, that's fine. Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thanks to the person behind you who did our show.
We'll make sure to get him in the credits.
Yep.